All right. Okay. So, we're going to have public input now. Just so you know, the format of this is 3 minutes. At 30, go ahead, time please. Will you give us a 30-second warning?
Yep.
Okay. So 3 minutes apiece. Don't go over your 3 minutes, or we'll have a gavel here or something. Okay. And this will be for a maximum of an hour. So try to keep it efficient. And
Steph, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, Stephanie, public support.
Yep, public support. Hello. I am Stephanie. I think I met you guys last Monday when you were doing the workshop. So I had asked you guys a question. I asked you if you would support the levy. I did not get a straight answer. In fact, I got one of those non-answer answers, something about constituents. So it caused me to go and pull your job description, make sure I really understood what a board trustee does. Not only did I pull the ones for here, I pulled them for the entire state of Idaho to make sure I fully grasped the roles, responsibilities of the school board trustee. I learned 2 things. One is that your job is to support a well-rounded education for these kids, and 2, to fund it. You can kind of see how I walked away and was like, why isn't that your job? So I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I'm a software executive. I think I mentioned that before. I run a multi-million-dollar budget with about 150 employees. I am constantly looking at line items. You guys look at line items. You went over the past few months looking at line items. One of the things I do as a leader is I look at opportunities. I look at opportunities within my budget that may be cuts, but may also be reallocations, because I am a mission-oriented leader. I focus on what I need to do, and I lean in and I say, okay, you want to know what? If I'm $50,000 over here, I'm going to reallocate that to another business unit. I haven't seen any of that from this board. I have seen a ton of let's cut, wheat, chaff, cutting. There's a lot of that. I get that. But part of being a leader is also reallocating into areas that need support. If you found $50,000 in maintenance, you can reallocate that into education, into curriculum, into teacher salaries, into stability for this district. And that's being strategic with your funds. That's not just cutting because you're approaching everything as a hammer and every problem's a nail. It's saying, how do I support this community with all the stakeholders involved? Constituents, parents, kids, everybody has to be considered in this entire thing. So my ask today, my 39 seconds left, is that you guys lean in, be leaders, do the hard job of actually leading. Cutting's easy. Anybody can cut. We all have family budgets. It takes 2 seconds to say, I cut. Being a strategic leader is hard because it means that you've got to convince your constituents, you've got to convince your parents, and you've got to convince everybody here that it's the right thing to do.
Katie?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and fellow members of the community, I stand as a strong supporter of kids, the local economy, and the future of our community. My name is Katie Mossman. Born, raised, and deeply rooted in the Camas Prairie, I grew up working on my family's farm, and I graduated from Nez Perce High School.
My message today is simple. The students have sacrificed enough, and the chapter's long gone. No more budget cuts. When I was the agriculture teacher at Grangeville High School, I saw firsthand how knowing something is simple, but applying it is skillful. I have hundreds of examples of the far-reaching benefits of sports and electives. These programs are not mere add-ons. They are proven ways to keep kids engaged, motivated, and in many cases in school. For example, one of my former students struggled academically. He lacked motivation in most of his classes, and so he had poor grades. However, he was an excellent fabricator and routinely did complicated trigonometry in his head. Today, he is locally employed as a professional welder, a direct result of his education here at GHS. Without the skills that he gained and the engagement that he gained in his welding class,
he would not be a productive member of society here. Without the knowledge that he gained from his math teachers, he wouldn't be able to do his job and be part of the fabric of our community. Students need knowledge from academics and skills from activities. One cannot meaningfully exist without the other. A reading, writing, and arithmetic approach to education is a dead end. I was lucky to grow up working on my family's farm. Not many kids do anymore. Most modern families need both parents working outside of the home in order to make ends meet, making extracurriculars absolutely crucial for kids to build life skills. Furthermore, kids are safe and supervised from the time school gets out to when parents get home from work. Cuts to these programs will only hurt kids in the short run and in the long run cripple our community as families relocate elsewhere in order to provide those opportunities for their children. Locally funding education is more than a financial decision. It is a choice about the kind of community we want to live in. You want a thriving local economy powered by productive members of society? Local kids gaining knowledge and skills. The key. Investing in our schools is investing in our community, and there is no better return on investment. Let us unite in saying enough is enough. No more budget cuts. It is time for the rest of us to sacrifice for the long-term success of our community and, most importantly, the kids. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joshua Falcon. I live up in Elk City, and I'm a lifetime Westerner, but I haven't lived in Idaho my whole life. But I've been 40 years as a lawyer. And done a lot of public affairs work and stuff. And I've been really distressed about the division we have in our community on this issue. It's like a civil war every year. You know, people fighting each other, and it's awful because the truth of the matter is everybody dislikes the levy. People who vote against it also dislike it, but for different reasons than the people who support it. But the people who support it dislike it for very good reasons, because it makes it almost impossible to run a proper school. So what I said, well, look, how do you get at this? You know, of course, being a lawyer, I look at the history of the law, and I went back, and I'm sad to tell you there is a long history of litigation on this very issue. If you go back to the very beginning, our state constitution requires our legislature, the state, to provide a thorough system of thorough education for public schools. And everybody knows that it hasn't been done. And in fact, there was a lawsuit back in the 90s that resulted in an Idaho Supreme Court case in '95 declaring exactly that the legislature had failed to perform its duty to constitutionally fund schools as required by the Idaho State Constitution. But being the political creatures they are, they didn't provide any remedy. They didn't order the legislature to provide the funding. So basically, the levy really, in my view, should have gone back to the original intent, which was only for supplemental programs that are really desired by local communities and not as a means of 25% of the budget. That's completely bogus, and it's completely unconstitutional. And our court basically said, oh, well, yeah, that's true. You're not funding it, but, you know, we don't want to tell you what to do. So what the legislature did they provide more funding? No. They a year later, they passed a law basically prohibiting any more claims that they weren't funding constitutionally. It's called, and I've done a whole memo on this, and I'm going to pass around this list in case you want it. It's about a 15-page legal memo together with another piece of paper, which is an initiative, citizens initiative, which I'm proposing to abolish the levy and require the state to fully fund schools as they're supposed to under the Constitution. This is the only way to bypass all the politics, all of the problems. You've got to force the legislature by citizens' vote. Can somebody give me a time? 30 seconds. So I'm going to pass this around. I urge you all to read it because you will be absolutely shocked what is in this law, which is called the constitutionally supported education law, which all it is a bunch of garbage that prohibits citizens from suing the state and claiming that they aren't funding. That's what they did. Rather than funding, they passed a law saying you aren't allowed to sue us anymore. The only way out is through an initiative to abolish the levies, abolish school bonds, and require the legislature to fund it like they're required to do under the Constitution. Anybody that wants it, put their email on here, and I will email you a copy of it.
McKenna?
Or just so people can. Good evening. My name is McKenna Denuit, and I am a junior at Grangeville High School. I am involved in Student Council, Business Professionals of America, Youth and Government, Band, Knowledge Bowl, Track, and Soccer. I am the current Youth Governor of Idaho for Youth and Government, and I am proud to say that I was recently elected Grangeville's first state officer of BPA and serve as the Executive Vice President. I came here tonight to encourage your consideration to not cut our extracurricular clubs and activities. These programs are vital for students' education and socialization. The extracurriculars offered by Mountain View School District prepare students for careers in the world-class workforce. BPA alone has aided me and countless other students in developing skills, ranging from public speaking to conducting economic research. Extracurriculars expose students to experiences and opportunities not otherwise available. Students are able to make connections both state and nationwide. This summer, I had the opportunity to attend the Youth Governors Conference in Washington, D.C. In merely a week, I was able to establish lifelong connections with my fellow attendees. Conferences such as these introduce students to kids with similar interests. Students in extracurriculars turn into active community members. Students in youth and government are more likely to become civically engaged throughout their adulthood. Extracurriculars create the leaders of tomorrow. They create an environment for students that allow them to be passionate and dedicated. Rather than focusing on cuts, I implore the board to make their constituents aware of all of the positive things my peers are doing in their extracurriculars. The students of Mountain View School District excel in their programs, and it's important for our community to know that we are worth the investment. Thank you for your time.
Shelley?
All right.
I'm a fourth-generation Idahoan. My parents were the first college graduates of their respective families. They believed in the American ideal of public education. My dad was a mining engineer who could not understand how his daughter, any daughter of his, could be such an algebra bonehead. Yet he and Mom were great supporters of my extracurricular activities because they valued the totality of a public education, academics, athletics, the arts. They knew that public education was the key to open any door. Now, 2024, and Mountain View School District tries to pass a levy after 4 failures. For the umpteenth time, we attend program and budget sessions and hear the same anti-levy excuses. Number 1, lack of transparency, which is totally false, as district personnel are as transparent as a pane of clear glass on a sunny day. 2, the burden of increased property taxes on those with fixed incomes, which may be true in a limited case, but there are tax reduction programs. I have experience lean times, but not supporting a levy was never an option. The way I figure it, if I can afford a home, I can afford the taxes. Why is public education always the target of anti-taxers when schools provide the most value and stability for our communities? Paying our property taxes is a shared privilege to maintain the public services that we all need and use, including public education. The anti-levy folks continually claim that school personnel hide or mismanage funds, and yet the district has to have an audit every year with no red flags, no discrepancies. Carly has done a brilliant job of presenting the budget with its various funding sources, guidelines, and requirements. We can all agree it's very complicated, but I don't need to track every dollar through the district. I trust these professionals to do their job. Every recent year, these levy hearings disintegrate with the insistence that district personnel disclose what will be cut if the levy fails. The district complies, And then the anti-levy folks respond with a no vote because, see, you didn't need it anyway, so why should we support the levy? It is unbelievable that we have elected school board members who don't believe in advocating for school excellence and solvency, and that we spend so much effort trying to appease them. Enough. This time I say, no cuts. The proposed $3 million levy with a 2-year guarantee will just maintain the status quo and give teachers, staff, and administrators a little breathing room. There is no love. I don't have kids, but I receive a fine public education. I'm happy that my property taxes help pay it forward. Thank you.
Claire?
Members of the board, thank you for letting me come here and speak. I'm Sawyer Wilson, and I've lived in Grangeville for the majority of my life. I do not go to public school, but I still think that everyone should have a right to good education. I mean, what would my generation do without one? Without good education, there would be no doctors, no police officers, no lawyers, and no firefighters. What is a town with no one that contributes to society called? It's called chaos. How many of you grew up without a good education? How many of you grew up in a school that has to do a 4-day week?
Matt?
So my name is Matt Told. I'm a physician at Syringa Hospital. I've been here for 10 years. I love our community. I think it's great. And I too am for no cuts because at some point we need to start funding and paying it forward. I don't know if many of you know, but we have a lot of residents and medical students who rotate through our hospital. Our hospital is you know, it's strapped too, like everybody else. They have our tough times, but we try to look for ways to make it happen. We support education, and I'm about education and about teaching because we have to pay it forward. I stood on the back of a giant, mini giants to be exact, to get to where the position I am. And I dare say that by you sitting here, that you stood on the backs of giants too. So at some point, we have to become the giant that we stand, or that somebody else stands upon to get where they need to be. I would submit, I'm not speaking to just the board, but also the community too, that there are 4 things that we need in a community to have a great place to live, and that's a great medical care, we have to have great schools, we have to have a place that we can go worship, and then we have to have great local government. Without those 4, you start to have a crumbling society. Recently taught in school, I've taught sex education down here at the middle school. Enjoy it, it's great. I see lots of, we have a lot of good kids, a lot of creative minds, and we have great high schoolers too. I've had a chance to teach a Mr. Higgs class. And this past time, it was kind of saddening to me as I was teaching, asking questions about their medical knowledge and that kind of stuff. One of the kids that started to drip on his head, right? And he raised his hand and said, "Hey, it's dripping on me because the roof is leaking." He says, "We don't have enough money to repair it anyway, just scoot over, slide the bucket over." It's sad. That's sad and disappointing because that's what the kids are now learning, is that we don't care enough, we don't have enough money to fund the schools, and therefore just move aside, push a bucket over, that solves the problem. That's not always the best manner. I submit that if we pay it forward by investing in education, by putting in our time, that we will be able to produce a society that we all can live in, and I guarantee you it will pay dividends in the return as we focus on our kids and education moving forward. So, thank you.
Mark?
Good evening. My name is Mark Hurd. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm fairly new to the community. I did 21 years in the United States Air Force and retired. So I think I know a little bit about values and leadership and much other things. I was actually not a very good student in high school, so I'll preface that. But I beg of you, the reason why I came to this town with my family, right, was because it had small town values that were similar to what I expected or I wanted to raise my children in, as well as the schools, right? I came to a smaller school district to have smaller student-to-teacher ratios, and to have an environment where the community has more say in the school, and the school is supported by that community so that we grow good young adults. That's what I was looking for in a community when I left the military after traveling and 21 years of service. I beg of you, no more cuts for these programs. All of them are important. Everything costs more money. Everything will cost more money tomorrow. It'll cost more money next year. We can't change that. What we can change right now is how we spend that money, and thank you for doing a good job of scrutinizing the budget as a taxpayer. I'm thankful that you're going over those line items and making sure there's nothing that's not being spent efficiently and effectively. But now is the time that has been done, and we're begging you for the future of these children to go ahead and keep funding things or fund the things that need to happen and need to continue to be done. All right, so as a young person, I struggled in school. The only thing that kept me in school was sports and athletics. That's it. It gave me motivation. It gave me so many things that are very crucial to life lessons down the road that some kids don't get strictly from academia, right? Those things got me in. I graduated high school and I went into the military. And I was pretty successful in the military. I can say that I've set and I've served and protected and led hundreds of young people. And that includes downrange and operations in Afghanistan. So I know a little bit about what kind of character it takes to have good people serve our nation. And many of the programs that happen right here in rural USA, in Grangeville is a perfect example of that, give us the young people that we much need in the military right now to continue service. And we're having a major decline in the quality of people that are stepping up. Grangeville and small towns like that, they shoulder the burden. So, work ethic, perseverance, integrity, rule following, teamwork, adversity, resiliency, physical conditioning, pride, and so much more comes from these programs. Not just athletics, but all of the extracurricular activities. They're all equally important. Don't lose good people. Be a magnet for good people to come to this community. And please support the future of our children, the future of this community, and the future of our nation. Thank you.
Jason?
I won't be as professional as Sawyer was, and my points will be a little bit harder than Dr. Told's. You guys rolling up, you all had good friends in your lives, and when you've had a good friend, they'll call you on the carpet when you're doing something wrong. I'm that friend tonight, guys. There's a different way to look at this. I recently was back at my high school reunion in Kansas. It's a small Kansas rural town, wheat town. And my favorite teacher led me through the school, and we started the tour with a prayer. We got to the social studies room. He still has a stack of Bibles in there that he uses as a reference in that public school in Kansas for his social studies class. 19 miles from there is an Amish community. They still have one-room schoolhouses. They go to school till the 8th grade. Next to that, Whitesides. It's a Holdeman Mennonite community. They drive to town in 4 tractors. They pull their families in trailers. They're a homeschool community. All around that region are small wheat towns dotted with public schools. It's not unlike the fabric of education around here. When I told my friends back there that I lived in deep red Idaho, in a logging and ag community, next to a giant wilderness area full of apex predators, and they don't want to fund their football team, their wrestling team, their amazing choir, their FFA chapter, they don't believe me, guys. You guys have a reputation outside of here that's unearned. They would look back here, and even as the good lawyer says, if we can't fund it, there's that. John has good points. We need to look at maybe funding it a different way. But until then, don't we support those clubs, those groups? Yeah. The doctrine of the lesser magistrate runs deep in my soul. And you guys have taken the jurors loop to the budget, and it's lean. You've been fiscally responsible with our tax dollars. That's your job. But that's the easy part. Being fiscally responsible is the easy part. Leading and doing the right thing is the hard part. And so the Dr. Toltz, here's my little bit edgier line of this. You guys aren't paying your debts. Everyone else paid for your education. You're leaving the community to hold it back. Number two, you want to go to the European socialist model of sport. Here we've done a great job adding activities like sports into our education for sound mind and body and our community, and like Mark said, for armed forces readiness. And thirdly, what gets me the most is we live politically. On the left side of the aisle, they couldn't want more for the small Kansas or small rural towns to go away. We are the lifeblood and the backbone of this country. Rural America is. If we don't, we need those Friday night lights. We need our FFA chapter. We need our band. We need our choir to sing reverence to our country and praise to our God. We need you guys to lead. There's enough fight out there. Shift the focus with your constituents. Reframe the battlefront. Be brave. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Brittany?
Hello, my name is Brittany Ebert, and I'm here to voice my opinion on having extracurriculars for my students. I'm coming to you as a graduate of GHS, a parent, a coach, and a business owner. I believe it's important to keep our extracurriculars in our school. They're part of our education that students need. All these programs offer life skills needed to be a successful adult. For example, sports teaches leadership, discipline, teamwork. Drama teaches us public speaking. Music teaches us the importance of creativity and expression. In the past 4 years, 3 of our sports teams have won the Academic Athletic Award, which means as a team, they've had the highest GPA in the 2A state level. All of these programs help students become well-rounded adults that will someday be leaders of their communities. These programs also offer scholarship opportunities that might not be available if we cut this. Extracurricular activities play a huge role in mental health. These programs offer a safe space for students. For some students, their team is all they have. These programs have helped students fit in when they didn't before. And how amazing is it that we have other adult mentors to help them along the way. My husband and I have coached many teams, and we still have now adults that have graduated GHS. They come and visit us when they're home because we're still a part of their lives. What a rewarding feeling to know that we've helped them in their journey. I know that we are not the only mentors that have had a positive impact on the outcome of their lives. As a business owner, we have donated and participated in fundraising as much as we can. We have spearheaded fundraisers, we have helped in pasta fundraisers, cornhole tournaments, golf tournaments. We have even made a lawn out or two. We give lots of time and money and are happy to do so. We do this to support our community as our community supports us. Extracurriculars are a part of this community. What will happen if we cut these? I personally know of several families that will be leaving our community. If we're losing kids, what will that do to our town? Those families that come to my restaurant will be no longer. I will be losing business and I won't be the only one. Other business owners in the community are also worried about the loss of revenue. I don't want to pay more taxes, however, it is necessary to keep our community thriving. And the loss of revenue outweighs the taxes. I'm afraid of what will happen to my business if we lose all these amazing families. Our community will dry up. Every time our school hosts an event, traveling families are spending money on hotels, food, gas, other goods. That's a big boost to our economy every time an event is held. How can we let that go? Cutting extracurriculars will have an effect on students' mental health, will deny them important life skills, will hurt families, will hurt business. I'll leave you with this final thought. Extracurricular activities are not extra at all. They are a necessity in the success of our businesses and our children's education.
So my name is Mary Schmidt, and I'm sure you've heard me say before, I've lived in this community for 40 years. What you probably didn't hear me say is that I am a fifth generation Idaho. I'm not trying to, up Shelley back there. But I do appreciate the interest in looking at long-term solutions of what we can do to this funding issue. But you may have figured out by now that the word is out around town that the board may be looking at some pre-levy cutting measure of eliminating extracurricular activities. And so many of the comments are particularly addressed to that this evening. And I think that would be concerning to a lot of us in this room and in this community. But I just want to share what one community member said to me the other day when they had heard about this rumor. They go, now let me get this straight. You want me to pay for a levy and then turn around and pay for all of the extracurricular activities and functions for our kids? They were not very happy at that. And I do worry that some of our traditional yes voting people are not going to be happy with or potentially even vote for a scenario like this. This past weekend, I sent the board some research that highlighted how extracurricular activities support learning, resulting in higher GPAs, higher reading and math assessments, and also higher graduation rates, and the correlation before those two. So I'm just going to close with one quote by an esteemed math and science teacher and an assistant track coach who we have here, Naomi Finnegan. And she said, sports and extracurricular activities drive the culture of our schools and even our communities. They contribute to ensuring a sense of belonging and self-confidence. For many of our youth, it is the sport, activity, or club that gets them to school every day. Thank you.
Valerie?
Most of you guys know me by now. I'm Valerie, I'm a teacher down at the elementary school here in Grangeville. I just want to start off by saying that I don't envy your guys' position as the board. You guys have some hard decisions and things that you have to do. So with that in mind, here are some tips for tonight for you guys. If you do plan on making cuts to decrease the levy amount, please think about how those cuts will impact the students and staff in our district. If the cut would harm the education or well-being of our students and our staff, please ask yourself if lowering that amount of the levy is really worth the harm. And two, be honest with yourself and the community about your willingness to support our students, our staff, and ultimately the levy. I will now remind you of the code of ethics that you all signed as board members when you became a trustee for this school district. I do hereby, and to the best of my ability, commit myself to the following code of ethics: to act consistent with my oath of office, to hold as my first priority the educational welfare of all students and children in the district, to respect and represent the whole of my constituent community, to actively avoid conflicts of interest, financial or otherwise, to refrain from using my position as a trustee for personal or family gain or advantage. I want to highlight one of the very first things on that list. To hold as my first priority the welfare of all children in our district. Those should be the people you are thinking about when you are making financial decisions, first and foremost, and whether what you are deciding is going to harm their education, because it is your duty not to do so.
Hi, Norma staff. I live out in the Hartsburg area. I've lived in rural Idaho for 32 years, small town. I went to a city school 100 years ago, and I was very thankful to have a community that supported school, and we had excellent education, they had extracurriculars, and they still do. And I would like to believe that I still live in such a community. All of us went to school, most of us public school, and someone else paid for it. The community that all of us lived in paid for us to go to school. There are a core group of people in this community that will not support the levy, no matter what. Even those with kids or grandkids in the school. I don't think we should continue to be trying to kowtow those people and make our decisions based on that. You will not change their minds. I think you need to work with the people that do support the kids, that do support the schools, that want to be involved, that want to learn more, that want to help, that want to volunteer. Most of the people out here are in that group, the ones that showed up today. As far as worrying about keeping people's property taxes low, I learned this week that Idaho County has the lowest property taxes of all 44 counties in the state of Idaho. So we do not have a terrible tax burden here, despite what some may argue. It may be more than they want to pay, but it's not unfair compared to other places. As far as we've been hearing in some of these meetings, the state legislature is going to bail us out. Well, guess what? Nope. Tomorrow morning, in state legislature, they're going to be debating a bill to take tens of millions of dollars off the top and give it as handouts for people to go to private school. That money will be taken off before a dime comes to public school. Mike? Oh, thanks. While I'm looking at you, Lacey, good to see the mother of a state champion wrestler here. The first girl from this school district to ever make it to the finals and place in wrestling. And this is living proof that this is important. Those kids have worked their butts off to get there for years. And it's not just Lacey's kids. I'm just saying this because I'm looking at her. And not too many consider the mother of a state champion. That's super cool. So, honor your oath of office, follow your code of ethics, and do the best you can for the kids here. And don't worry about the no people. They can worry about themselves.
Well, I'm not going to do my whole speech because it's already been pretty well covered. I'm just going to say a couple of things. Educational excellence for all is our district's mission statement. What are we doing to achieve that goal? How many cuts will ever be enough? This levy is crucial for our schools and our communities. Do the right thing for our schools and our communities. Thank you.
Kelby?
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, I'm Sawyer's dad, I'm probably not as Polish. Thank you for your service and leadership. I'm Kelby Wilson, born and raised on the Campus Prairie, proud public school graduate, having earned my high school, undergraduate, and medical degrees from public institutions. When I completed my training in July of 19, I returned right back here to Idaho County. My wife and I moved our family to Mountain View School District 244, despite the developing difficulties percolating through the district. We have watched as those challenges and divisions have grown and can no longer stand idly by. We appreciate living in a community that values faith, family, and freedom. These shared values are evident by the many strong homeschooling groups in private schools. Our children attend SPPS. However, we understand those options are not available to most students in our district. That leaves our public schools. They're an essential pillar of our community, and it's time that we come together to fully fund and support them. We have no choice if we want to recruit, retain medical and other professionals. The district's current financial struggles are clearly the result of inadequate funding, not overspending. The budget workshops prove that. Through leadership changes, increased transparency, and public scrutiny, this board has trimmed the fat. Middle school, medical coverage for dependents, extracurricular busing, a 5-day school week, all gone. For my back-of-the-envelope calculations, your supplemental levy request will tax at a rate that's roughly half the 0.3% school property tax Idahoans paid for decades. Since the 2006 trade of that guaranteed property tax at 0.3%, so it was in '06 that Jim Risch, as governor, took away the 0.3% property tax. And the promise was that additional sales tax revenue would backfill that, and that hasn't happened. Until changes are made in Boise, we're left with no other mechanism to fully fund our schools than to tax ourselves. Taxes are not popular, I get it. In a county this conservative, it's politically perilous to support any tax. However, I encourage you to find your political fortitude. Step up. Meet your duty to secure full funding for the district you are entrusted to oversee. You have some political cover. Substantial property and income tax relief has been provided by the state. And the Heritage Foundation ranks Idaho first in the nation for return on investment for spending on education. We spend the least per pupil and achieve the 9th best test scores nationally. It's tough to argue against contributing to the best ROI available. Since our last levy, you, in partnership with our local administrators, have worked hard to make cuts and improve transparency. I feel like there's no other entity in our community that receives tax dollars that is as transparent as the school. Our district has survived by cutting expenditures and exploiting reserves. Our reserves are now depleted. To maintain our current lean operation, we need to pass the $3.1 million levy that you already placed on the May ballot. I'm asking all 5 board members to stand up and support that levy request. The unified board will go a long way in encouraging the voters of District 244 to choose to provide the necessary funding for our modest public school system. May God bless and guide you. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to ask the board if they could respond to House Bill 292. Governor Little has put out this House bill. This came in an email last week from Governor Little's office. What this bill is to prevent schools in the next 3 years, 2024, 25, and 26, from having to request levies from their districts. And another thing it does, which would prevent trying to do a levy, trying to hit everybody with property tax increases, which would make a lot of people happy. This Mountain View School District is to receive $4 million. You'll see it in the bill, it's already listed. It's over $4 million actually. The only thing that I saw in the bill that maybe was a question was if the school districts have gone down to 4 days a week, then they would have to supplement a letter saying that the teachers had put the hours in that they were supposed to, you know, which makes sense, and I think that could be done. Other than that, I just wanted to find your $4 million. There it is. If you could possibly look into that.
It hasn't passed.
Yeah, but it's flying through, so.
And it's for facilities, not for
That'll
operations.
fix everything.
It's for both. It's for both.
I'm Tara Connolly. I am in Larry's district. I graduated CV a bit ago. I have 4 kids that have come through public school, 2 of which graduated GHS, 2 of which graduated homeschool. I've had, well, let's see, 2 that have graduated U of I. 1 is an entrepreneur. My husband graduated GHS. My siblings all graduated GHS. I've been here a little while. I don't want this to appear like I'm attacking you at all. I just want you to know that it's $30 a year for extracurriculars on your taxes. 12.16 cents a day for programs like HOSA, which if you have ever needed to use our medical services, it's important to have health services and to generate these, an interest in our youth to be able to serve in that capacity. I'm also the assistant soccer coach, women's soccer coach. So I have a vested interest in making sure that that program stays viable for our kids. It's been really profitable on many fronts. For kids to be able to express themselves that way. It's been a great program to just see these kids really develop and take charge, because they've all had to kind of dig down because it's a fresh new program and they've had to generate funds and come up with resources. So the other thing, I've got kind of 3 points, just wanted to support the recommended levy that the comptroller and superintendent that you guys hired. They researched it, they balanced it, and they recommended it to you. These are people you've hired and trusted, and I'd like you to pay attention to what they've said and pass this levy. Now my next part is going to be a little bit different, a little bit edgy. Let's not be the crash test dummies for the state and unwittingly abdicate control over our students. Our home public or private students. There are outside forces that are spending lots of money to influence Idaho's lawmakers into a voucher system. No one loves this local control portion of our tax system, but it stands as a firewall against these outside international forces, and until the adults in the room can problem solve a bridge solution, let's not penalize an entire generation of students.
All right, well, most of you know me. I'm Cody Edwards. I'm the husband of a current board member. You're welcome. I heard this, and it really struck a nerve with me. And for those of you that don't know me, I'm a graduate here, a parent in a school, coach of multiple sports, and a local business owner, and a lifelong Idaho County resident. So the community matters to me. It's important, and I care about it. I'm here to plead and beg all of you board members to simply state the facts and tell the truth. For some reason, stating the facts and telling the truth has not been the mode of operation for certain current and past trustees of School District 244. It has become obvious that certain trustees have decided their alliance is with a political ideology rather than telling the truth to benefit the community and the students. From trustees placing ads in newspapers with blatant lies, half-truths, and gross misinterpretations of the truth. The trustees of District 244 have not historically performed the duties they owe the beneficiaries of the district. The students deserve to have trustees that will state the facts and tell the truth. I believe we are in the current situation we are because trustees of the past have not lived up to this duty. I believe each of you owe it to the students and employees and citizens of our community to simply state the facts and tell the truth.
The facts are many regarding the district, but the truth is one. What is important tonight is that each of you listen to the facts presented and make informed decisions based on the facts instead of your political ideological alliance. Trustee positions are not politically affiliated, yet it has become clear the local political committee is and has been using trustee positions to push their agenda. We've seen the destruction of other public institutions when other political ideologies are implemented, and it's time for that to stop locally tonight. Each of you can stand together as trustees working towards the benefit of the students and state the facts and tell the truth to your constituents. With a factually informed base of constituents, the outcome of the levy is in the voters' hands. It is utterly despicable to think that in the past, certain trustees have voted against funding the schools after those same trustees have voted to approve a budget. Voters expect the truth from any business they engage, and the goal of the trustees should be to create an environment where the finished product, the students, leave here and are productive citizens for this great country. You as trustees have a duty to do everything in your ability to promote the best experience for the students, and that starts with stating the facts and telling the truth. Thank you.
I've attended many of the different budget meetings through the years, some in this room. So I've not really seen ever these fluffy extras and extracurriculars that should or could be cut. And I agree with people here that extracurriculars should definitely not be cut. But we need more than even what that could give us. I just realized when someone was speaking that maybe the idea was we would like have the levy for some amount, but then cut some extracurriculars, which I hope you don't do. I have been very sympathetic to the people who have said that there are folks here who are on limited fixed incomes and they might not be able to afford it. And people have always talked to me about the circuit breaker program, which I'm hoping the board members know about so that they can talk to their community members about it. If you are on a fixed income, make less than $37,000 after your medical expenses, you can apply for this. It has to be applied for every year from January to April. And you will have help with your taxes, up to $1,500. So if there are people that really, truly can't afford it, they can apply for the circuit breaker program. Also, I kind of agree that, I know that the house prices have gone up, so the taxes might go up slightly in coming years, but I agree that our taxes are very low here. And I know we pay taxes for garbage, and I've always felt like if we could afford garbage, to pick that up, we could afford our schools and our students invest in that. Someone made a comment that we were paying more for our cemetery upkeep at the last budget hearing, which I hope that is not true. It's true.
It's true.
Because I think we should, I agree that our cemetery should look very nice, and we should respect those who have come before us that have been here. But I definitely think that the living capital of our community needs those. I never said this, but I really appreciate whoever said, I got a good public education. You did, and some other people did. Some people that don't even have children here have. And all of the people up here, the adults, they've all made something of themselves. They're here tonight to speak about their community. They have jobs, and I know this is not a paid job, but you all have to be very intelligent to look through all the budgets, to have the other jobs that you've had through your lives. And I know many of you have had good education, public education. So I do hope that in your hearts, you will all together as a board say that this levy is worth it, our children are worth it, and our community is worth it. I hope you will help to bring the community to that idea.
after all your research that you've done. Thank you so much.
Steve? Steve Munson?
Steve, come on down, buddy.
He says he sees his time.
All right. Move on to the business meeting. And an announcement, before I forget, if you brought in a folding chair, would you put it back when you leave? Thanks. All right, to get started here, we actually need to amend the agenda. Can we entertain a motion to amend the agenda and add second order of business, which is the levy? Propose that? We're going to talk budget first, and then we're going to talk levy amount, if we need to. Anybody? No?
Who's asking for you to amend the agenda to add levy as an?
It's official business. It's just,
Oh, gotcha. To add the levy? As an item number 2. Oh, okay.
so item number 1 is budget, and item number 2 is the levy.
Okay, so hold on. Hang on a second.
It's just simple. More, huh?
Yeah, I need you to accept the
Okay. So, can we have a motion to accept the amended agenda?
Yes, it's true.
I know, I'm on it. Okay.
All right, so on to business. Our first order of business is to discuss the budget if the levy doesn't pass. We're trying to come up with 3.1. Here is a list of things that have got us to 2.5.
A couple of things I'd like to comment on. First of all, I don't think anybody here wants to cut extracurricular activities. We all believe that that's important. I have a suggestion related to the levy. Now, we've had been talked last fall about going for 3.1. And I'm glad Dee brought this along, because I was not at this meeting on that Thursday night when this was passed out, but it's got great, information in here. Yeah. Can you put this on the screen, Carly? It's the one from 311.
Oh.
This was a side one that. What? Oh, yeah, but. It's just the proposed budget?
Yeah, just
You want the revenue side? But
Yes,
this,
I want
this
revenue side.
isn't what we went over last Monday. This was the one I was mocking up for.
I don't know what he,
Let me ask
that
a
was just
question,
my
Carly.
own stuff
Is
that
that
I
a
brought.
reasonable look at the revenue side?
No, because this is my,
Boy, that's,
this is not what was presented on 3/8. This was actually something that B and I were playing around with, and so the bottom number I don't want to put up there
Okay.
because it's not
Okay.
accurate. It's something that I was playing around with, and so I don't think it's appropriate to put
well,
up there.
that's, again, I thought that was a good number, so
But you can look at yours, which shows a similar.
let's take a look at yours now.
I apologize, that's,
I think I have another one from another month.
I brought all of my budget workshop stuff here.
There's so much paper that we all lose.
I don't have the revenue side I presented last Monday because, again, it wasn't part of the presentation. I was doing the expenses, and so I don't have a copy of it. Does anyone?
Can I ask a question? Is that one that, yeah, you brought over there, Rita, is that close revenue-wise?
No, because I was playing around with some numbers and cuts were made. And so this was a cut thing that I showed B that I was going, well, if this happens, then this would be affected. And if that happened, this would be affected. And so, no, it's not.
It was a question that I had asked her, and she was just like you asked, you know?
Okay,
So it was just me,
all right.
but I don't have any of the.
I guess, the comment that I, wanted to make was that every year, we get about $1 million in for secure rural schools.
Yes.
And that's been constant for the last decade, except for 1 year. And I don't know why that year didn't come through. But as we look at what we're doing, I feel like we're not including that in the revenues that we can apply to this task we're faced. We're looking at, okay, we gotta have this much money, it's coming out, now we have 3.1 that's on the ballot currently for May. But if we've got $1 million coming in for the Forest Service, and actually a little bit more than that with interest that comes from that particular fund, why are we not applying that $1 million to what we need for those costs and remove that from the levy amount?
If I may.
Yes.
So again, this, please don't take this to heart. This is something I was playing around with to get numbers. Again, I was kind of like, what if this and what if that? So this is our general fund budget. So this line item down here, it says projected transfer of forest funds, or also known as our secure rural schools. So we have multiple funds in the district, one of them being our secure rural schools, or also known as federal forest funds, or also known as our reserve account. So it is being applied in the sense that we have a fund for our secure rural schools. At the time, like right now, there's about 3.3, almost $3.4 million in it. We will get about another $1 million coming in April for our annual payment. But what this shows, because this is not reflecting our secure rural schools fund, this is reflecting our general fund. So our general fund this year is going, we don't have enough to balance our general fund, so we need to take it from our reserve accounts, again, also known as secure rural schools, also known as federal forest funds. And so it is being taken into consideration in the sense that we have this $1 million coming in. And for this year's budget, we're budgeting $3.1 million of that to balance our general fund. Therefore, with the about $1 million coming in April, and if we utilize the full $3.1 million to balance out our general fund by the end of this year, we would have about 1.3, 1.4 left. I do not know what the state's gonna do. There's some talk that they may utilize some of the funds that the state is not using all of their support units they've budgeted, and so we may get more money, but that's to be determined. And if we do, the transfer from our forest funds, also known as SRS, also known as our reserve account, will be lessened. But again, with the projection of the 3.1 to balance it out for this school year, it would be about $300,000 remaining, and then plus the $1 million that we'll get in April. So it definitely is being taken into consideration.
Well, what I'm thinking about, though, is that we're talking about a levy that would go to a vote in May for 3.1. That's going to cover then the next year or whatever it is. That right now it's set up to go the same thing for 2 years. But if we've got $1 million coming in from the forest every year, why are we not using that against that $3.1 million?
We are, that's included in the revenue. Otherwise, the levy would be 4.1.
Yes.
Otherwise, the levy would be 4.1. Correct.
Yes. And so we get the $1 million in April, and again, if we utilize the $3.1 million for this school budget, then really what we're utilizing our federal forest funds, or again, our secure rural schools, or our reserve account. Our reserve account would be, again, that $1.3, $1.4 million. And per our auditor, we should have 1.5 to 3 months worth of expenditures in reserves, and that is about $3.3 million. And so us essentially wiping that out this year to balance the budget, because we don't want to run a levy, it's really wiping out our reserves that are recommended by the auditor and the state. I think it's probably a really good opportunity talking about that. There was some questions about
Carly, before we move off of the SRS funds, the interest earned is not held in a separate account?
when interest earned on the SRS funds, it is in the SRS fund.
It all just gets rolled back?
Correct. Does anyone else know how to ride Elmo better than me? Thank you. I don't know if the mic is a good or a bad idea.
Not great.
Not great. Yeah, okay. Oh gosh, I am not a teacher, so bear with me, guys. So this is what I present to the state. It is our budget in the state format. It's a little, or like, it's about an 80-page document, and this is the very last page. So the first column is our 23-24 general fund. The second column says all other funds, and it's almost $9 million. It's $8.9 million. So there's a lot of times that I talk about title money or IDEA money or our SRS money. All of that money is in those other funds. So we have, again, right now about $3.3 million in SRS. We had allocated at the beginning of the year for all three of our title funds about $375,000, maybe closer to $400,000. We had about $250,000 for IDEA. We have about $1 million in scholarship funds. That is part of those other funds. We have scholarships for some of our students. All of these monies are, in a sense, untouchables. We can't touch the scholarships. Those are for scholarship applications. We utilize the title money to help support the schools, and it takes away the need to come out of general fund. Same with IDEA. It helps our special education numbers, offsetting about 7.5 paraprofessionals. Other items in that almost $9 million are the remainder of our ESSER money. We are also utilizing that this year to lower some bills while also being able to get some curriculum that has been put off for a long time.
And ESSER is federal COVID dollars.
Thank you, ESSER, federal COVID dollars. Other items in that are our bus depreciation fund. So again, it's a completely separate fund that allows us to buy new buses. Also our food services, that one has a balance where every year the revenue that comes in offsetting the food services expenses, it kind of fluctuates about $30,000 to $40,000. So there's a balance in there that protects it, or not protects it, but just protects the general fund. There's also our driver's education fund. There's our CTE fund. So all of these other funds that I occasionally reference in our board meetings are part of that, and it helps support the general fund without having to add more to the levy. So I do apologize, maybe that's something I should have offered a long time ago, but I just focus so much, obviously, on these workshops about the general fund because that's truly where the local dollars are needed and come from.
And every month you provide this to us and it's on the website, correct?
Correct. Thank you for having that. And so this is also, I don't do every single fund, but I do kind of our main ones. So in the upper left-hand corner, again, M&O, maintenance and operation, is our general fund. Then we have federal forest fund, reserves. Again, maybe I should start adding all of the names for it. So federal forest fund, I can't say this enough, is also our secure rural schools fund, which is also what we reference our reserve account for. We also have a student occupied building. That's what SOB stands for, guys. To my knowledge, it is not something that the state requires. I believe it was something that was put into a separate fund for a what-if situation, maybe a roof, or but again, that is those right there are funds we can utilize. Again, the child nutrition program are our food services. Again, right now there's about $184,000 in it, so it supports itself for the time being. That ESSER one, all the way at the top on the right, that is the federal COVID money. The title, the middle line title 1, 4, 2, and IDEA school age and IDEA preschool, those numbers are allocations from the state. We have to spend it first and then draw it down. And then the bottom two are bus depreciation and then also that property tax release, also known as school facility funds. That's that $407,000 that we got, that yes, the school district does have. It is in our investment pool gaining interest. So I present this to the board every month. I just updated it for our March one, so I'll have updated numbers at the March 21st regular board meeting. But I started doing that back in December. Again, it's not all of them. Like driver's ed isn't on there, CTE is not on there, but it's kind of our big guys, the ones that really are there supporting the general fund. So not more has to come out of it. Yes, John?
Which of those pots of money can actually have funds transferred to the M&O thing? I know the Forest Service is one that we can do that with.
Yes.
ESSER was.
So the first three on the top line. So obviously M&O is our general fund. You just mentioned Forest Fund Reserve, and so I want to just emphasize, so for Forest fund reserve, Idaho Code 57-1304. It says the school portion of this money may be retained and accumulated and expended for the purchase of school sites and for construction and remodeling of school buildings within the discretion of the trustees of the respected school districts, provided that within the discretion of the trustees of the respected school districts, such monies are not needed, they may be expended for current expenses. That is how we're utilizing those funds. Oh my gosh, I apologize. Just throwing stuff everywhere. That is how the board, since I have started, is utilizing those funds. That last few words, they may be expended for current expenses. So we've been going, at the beginning of this year, there was about $3.6 million in the forest fund / SRS / reserve account. We've gained about $113,000 in interest. It's a great account to put money in. I'm tickled. Before August, our August school payment, we needed to transfer some funds to cover expenses. So that's that negative $500,000. And then so that puts us at roughly that 3.3. Again, now that it's March, it's closer to 3.4 million. So that's where, yes, the $1 million, John, will hit that account in April.
Right.
But when it says about $4.4 million, then we're utilizing that transfer on my budget of the 3.1 to help offset our current expenses.
Okay. Again, but now as we look forward now, the levy we're talking about, if it passes in May, whatever it is, then it would take effect next year.
Correct. We would start earning that money in December.
Right. So should we not plan for another $1 million input on Forest Service money next year to offset against that levy?
My personal opinion, and please any other board member jump in, is that if we deplete that, like again, once we get another $1 million, it'll be 4.4, and then let's say we utilize all of the 3.1, it's down to 1.3 million. That is barely a month's worth of expenditures, and I will revert back to our auditors saying we should have 1.5 to 3 months worth of expenditures in reserves. And so I'm following what you're saying, but I think it needs to go back into the reserves until that gets back to this 3 point. Yeah.
I think what he's wondering is the budget. Did you kind of include it in the 24-25 budget, knowing we were going to get it, to buy down the levy from 4.1 to 3.1? Did you count on us getting it for the 24-25 year?
I am counting on it, but I did not have it as a transfer because, again, we'll be pretty much wiping it out, and in my professional opinion, it should go back to the reserves, but I just moved numbers, guys.
So even at that, it's going to take 3 years before we get back to where we should be?
It could take maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
Okay. All right, thank you.
As always, I was super long-winded, sorry.
Any other issues we want to discuss? So I'll ask the board, do you guys want to talk about what the budget will be if the levy doesn't pass? Do you want to address that now? No. I didn't know that.
I don't think we should. I think we need to plan on getting a levy that passes.
Great. Well, let's move on to
I think we have to, because I think we have to identify it. Don't we? Or no? We don't have to put that on the ballot anymore? Okay, great.
Wait, what did you say?
I would like to just point this out again. Per Holly Troxel. It is a lawyer here in Idaho, and I was referred to them from Quinn Perry. She's at the state, and so I was asking them about our ballot language. I want to just make sure we're on the up and up and making sure we're hitting all of our points. So again, the ballot has to say what the purpose of the levy is, but they specifically say it cannot refer to it on the ballot as a cut list. The district can put out a piece of paper and go, this is our cut list. It happens to mimic the ballot, but the ballot is truly the purpose of what the levy would fund. I know that's like splitting hairs, but I just like to have backup.
So moving on to the levy, we already have 3.1 for 2 years. It's already been put through. Is that okay with the board, or do we need to, does anybody have an alternative?
I'd just like to add, like when we first brought up a $3.1 million levy, we offered to buy it down with the $400,000 that was given to us. If the levy passes.
If it passes, and again, per the ballot, I'm sorry, I'm such a stickler, per the ballot, it would still have to reference the 3.1 million, because that's what we have to report to the state, and then the state gives us a spreadsheet, and it goes, okay, you've got your 3.1, now we're minusing the 400,000, and so you're gathering from your patrons about the 2.7. And so don't freak out if it says 3.1. Please.
Can that be handled in the wording of the ad in some fashion?
If we, yeah, like, I'll do more levy presentations, and if we want to put it on the website and we want to get it out there, like, as many ways as we can as a district say it, we can go, the levy ballot will say 3.1, but if it passes, the district will only claim the 2.7, and I even have the example of the report we send to the state. It says what the levy passed for in this column, and then it has a column that says school district facility funds, and that's where I put the 400,000, and then it'd be the 2.7 in the final column that would be claimed from the patrons. But yes, we, as a district, we could put that everywhere, it's just not on the ballot.
Probably that was a 2-year, right? So that would bring us down to 2.9 if you split it in half.
I am curious about the splitting it in half. I'm wondering, and I need to double check with the state if it is, you just get it in the first year because that's what you have. And so the first year is the 2.7 potentially, and then the next year would be the 300. Again, the reason why the ballot has to say the 3.1, especially if we're doing this 2-year. And so that would have to be clarified if we can split it or not.
But that statute that you quoted said that we could use it for, that last sentence said that we could use it, right? For whatever we needed to, it's on the computer, I think.
Yes. Saved in a reserve account by the school district, or for use in securing and making any payments on new school facilities or renovation needs. That was the House Bill 292 verbiage. And so they're revamping that to say payment of supplemental school levies authorized pursuant to section 33802 Idaho Code. But I don't know how the 2-year part plays into it.
But if we haven't, couldn't we just split it into 2 years and use it to buy down our maintenance budget? Either way, couldn't we cover our bases that way?
Again, again, I know we can utilize it all, I just don't know if it's in just the first year or if we can't split it. I could go through, or we could go through the Idaho code and see. I haven't followed that process. Like, right now, it just says you have this, you can utilize it. So again, it's one of those
But let's say
interpretation
we had
things.
2 roofs that needed fixed and one cost 200 one year and one cost 200 the next year. Why would that be a problem if we used that for maintenance?
If we used it that way, but then we couldn't claim it on the property tax.
But couldn't we then run the levy for 2.9 and use the 200,000 in our M&O?
Oh, I got you. So like hypothetically, right now we go, okay, we have a roof to replace, it's $200,000. And then so by the time ideally the levy passes and we claim it, we have a remaining 200. Is that what you mean?
I was just saying we have a line item of maintenance, right?
Yes.
And currently that's part of the 3.1 million, kind of, because it's in the 13.1.
Yeah.
Couldn't we just use the 200 to buy down that line item in 24, 25, and then use the other 200, or maybe it'd be 250 by that time, to buy down the 25, 26 budget?
I think I'm starting to follow you. I guess the hang up then would be if we did utilize it to buy down the levy.
The maintenance, not the levy. We would just run the levy at 2.9, knowing that we have the 200,000 going towards our 13.1.
Which I think would be better, because that language just confused people and causes stir.
Because at this point, we can use it for maintenance.
Okay, so sorry. It's taking me a bit.
No,
So,
it's good.
the levy 2.9 for 2 years, and we don't claim it on the L2.
Correct.
We utilize it to offset our
maintenance.
maintenance. Got there.
Okay,
Yes.
no, I'm glad you clarified, but that's kind of my thought.
I don't see why you confuse that. Again, it just, it says, any monies that remain following the payments provided in paragraphs A through C of this subsection used for construction of new facility, renovation, or maintenance needs, so I don't see why you could do that, but, and then that way, it's just obvious. We're asking for 2.9. We request 2.9 from the county.
Would something like that make the board happy?
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Well, hang on, I just want, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, because it's kind of a legal thing, but you're confident that we can use it that way?
I've gotten this from.
Mr. Spock, you agree?
I am.
Okay.
Right now,
Enough
the
for me.
legislature's talking about another payment this upcoming year. I don't know what it's gonna be.
Right.
We're talking about this, so.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Need a motion?
Motion.
Sorry, what will be the purpose on the levy though? Because there was specifics, again, like in November, I put the purposes on there, but there was a lot of people that were like, well, that can't be cut, that can't be cut, and I went, correct? Because it's not a cut list. It is what the levy provides the school district. So are we okay with that or not okay with that?
Legally, we have to come up with another list, or is that what we're doing?
Or you guys just have to be okay with the list that was on there, full well knowing that it cannot be cut.
Help me with some language. Just, if we list it as part of the ballot, are we obligated to that list and that list only?
It's just if we
something might
put it
change,
on the, correct, but if we put it on the ballot at the end of the school year, so it would be all the way in fall of '25, we have to report to the community. We said we would claim this much in levy. We have proved we've claimed this much and spent that much of your taxpayer dollars.
Okay.
And so again, it's being honest with our community members of how it's being spent.
I'm glad they put it in there.
Agreed.
So we're okay with the wording so far?
Using the last ballots.
I'll
Should
obviously
we-
have to adjust a little bit since it's 2.9, not 3.1.
Should we agree to whatever sort of levy the board agrees on? And then should we move forward with what the ballot will have?
Does that require a vote?
So you need a vote if you're gonna run, you need a vote for a 1-year or a 2-year levy and the amount. I need a vote for that.
Okay.
I need a motion for that.
Do you need to have the list you voted on?
I do not know.
Do not. Okay.
No, I do not know.
You do not.
When do we need to get
Why
that
don't you
in?
help me
I know.
with this?
I would just submit it to Betty, I would like to tomorrow because she asked if I could be prompt on it, and I like that.
And I
But-
think the community needs to know if the levy doesn't pass, what
That has been a hot topic, valid.
So we don't need to make those decisions tonight.
no, we need to do, because we have to get it into the,
We're going off the last list.
I just have a problem with the last list because there was, oh my gosh, I'm getting old,
We have a
5,
copy.
7,
We can put it
yeah, there was 800,000 that wasn't allowed to be cut. So when you say that the levy is buying that, but then you still provide that, that's not really clear to patrons, I feel. Like, I think we could be fine with some of the other things, but there's trailing benefits, insurance, and special education contracted services that we couldn't cut, so I don't,
Okay, that's all good. Yeah, well, I could go back to the question about it. Are we obligated to stand on that?
Have we even been able to get to 3.1 or 3.9?
stand by.
Oh.
It is a big one. Yeah, they'll put the rest of our life.
What's the question?
Great recommendation. You made the short list the other way. I don't know parliamentary procedure. Sounds about right. I'll roll that one back out. This is what we nice you way to key on tonight.
was, I mean, it's not the ballot, but it is the list that was on it because, so again, in November, we ran the 3.136 million, and so as B's referencing, as B's referencing, like, utilities can't be cut, the insurance can't be cut, that's part of Robert, well, we did talk about that. Anyways, actually, it's our problem, but, special education, so those line items, again, I was going off of the impression, again, just what the levy would fund for the school district, but I completely get it, like, the interpretation from the community members, like I said, it's splitting hairs.
Now, the 400,000 that's already sort of tucked away, that would apply to the maintenance on buildings up there?
Correct.
Would that apply to any other item on that list? Okay, so if we said, all right, we'll make this adjustment of 200,000 a year on maintenance on buildings and take that 200,000 out, that would drop that down to $2.9 million.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we do that.
You don't have to make a motion.
I don't have to make a motion.
Because we're just working through this list, right? So we can just, oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that, again, that would apply to that list, just taking the 200,000 off of that number that's up there in that list. Because we have that money in it. Yeah, that's basically what we said. Yeah, so that would, yeah, so 90,000 a year instead of the 290. We take that down to 2.9, and then we adjust that levy amount for the next 2 years to 2.9 instead of 3.9. That's my motion. And I second that.
Okay, hold on a second. It actually needs to be in a motion.
Let's make that motion again.
Okay, I move that we take the $200,000 in maintenance on buildings that we already have in the bank each year from this list to reduce that from $290,000 per year to $90,000 per year. That will reduce the total that's required down there from 3.1 and change to 2.9 and change. And we adjust that levy that is being put through the voters in May for the next 2 years to 2.9 per year. That is my motion.
Okay, can I repeat that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're making a motion to run a 2-year supplemental levy for the May 2024 election for $2.9 million.
Correct.
2.936.
Yeah.
What?
2.936.
2.9, okay, hang on. Let's.
change.
Oh,
Yeah. That's true. But if we're gonna be accurate on the math, 3,136,000 minus 290 is actually 2,800,000.
But we're only taking out 200.
Okay.
So you have
So
2.936 million for 2 years is your motion. Okay.
That is my motion.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, hang on. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
No, let's call for a vote.
All in favor?
Or discussion, or?
Oh, discussion. Discuss more if you like.
Are we still going to look at this afterwards so it's a little more clear?
Yeah, I think we all want to learn about stuff on that list. Yeah.
All right, let's call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Whoa.
What's our list if it fails? We need to know what it is that's going to happen. Sorry.
It's not going to fail. It's not going to fail. It's up to us to make sure that
So I need to ask for a motion to approve a resolution 2024-2.
a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
I think more than
Seconded.
Okay, so B, yep,
All in favor?
I know.
Do we want to discuss this before I end the meeting, or?
I think we need to.
your motions, yeah, your motions are done here, so now.
I think we've done it, I think these guys have done a good job already just bringing that down. So I think we just need to clarify some things, right? Well, like utilities, if the levy doesn't pass, we can't go without utilities. So we have to create $537,000 in other ways than utilities. And it could be very vague, but it has to be something instead of utilities.
I'm just going to suggest we have, how many weeks until the actual vote? How long, no, starting voting, 2 weeks earlier than that.
We need to submit this by the 20th.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying in terms of adjusting these numbers doesn't change the fact that the bottom line levy amount is going to go up.
That's going out to a vote.
Yeah, no matter what, I'm just saying.
I think the people that work for our district and the community members that are thinking of moving kind of need to know if the levy, which is great.
Yeah.
If the levy passes, that's outstanding, but we do have 4 years that kind of tell us otherwise. So I feel like the community needs to know what's going to happen. And I know it's a hard thing to discuss, but,
It's not hard, it's a little bit difficult. The point I guess I was I don't want necessarily to do this without having.
but we've had 4 budget meetings to discuss what we were going to do here.
This needs to be done by March 1st, right?
Yes.
We need to have this.
Well, our-
That's gonna go.
Well, they have something, do you have it digitally or no? This.
Voting starts on May 6th.
That'd be April 20th.
Step or action.
Early voting.
Well, I think
Early voting is May 20th. Early voting starts at 6.
Early voting starts the 30th of April.
30th? I'm just going by the election calendar.
And that came from the
Okay.
Carly, you came up with this list previously. Do you have some other idea of what you want? I mean, like suggestions or any of you guys? Do you have any ideas from the budget meetings? We already kind of had a list previously of some of it, but not all of it at all.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a few lessenings of budget numbers throughout it. But even with all of those in play, I mean, to be honest, I guess it's not my job to come up with that.
I understand.
Yeah, so this list is not finished because we need transportation.
Is there a way we could just like cross those off to identify the amount that we would need to come up with otherwise? Or Tyler, do you have anything, like some sort of summary of?
I don't know, but you're not gonna get rid of transportation fully.
Right.
You're not gonna save 487,000 by, if the budget doesn't cut. Or we're not gonna save 487,000 out of transportation if the levy doesn't pass. So we do need an alternative cut list, right?
What are the budget amounts that are budgeted in each of those areas for the whole budget? And how much of that money that's, saying, being earmarked from this levy towards that payment, towards that fee. If that money does not come from the levy, how much is left?
Well, the list should be about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times that length, to get even close to 2.9.
Yeah. Now, I guess, again, if we have, on that, as an example, technology, top line up there, you've got $75,000 in this, proposed levy to pay for technology. If that doesn't pass, how much money would be left in technology? How much money would be available in technology if this doesn't pass?
So we could probably only pull 30,000 at most out of that, right? That's what we kind of figured.
So how much is the total technology budget? 75,000?
Yes.
Oh, that's the total amount in the budget for that.
Total budget.
Oh.
These are the total amounts. This is the savings. This is the total amounts.
What's it for?
All right.
IT, 537, or 75,000. Yeah, I need a math guy.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, we've had 3 months.
I want to do tonight.
But I agree, maybe this is not the way we need to do it, maybe.
I mean, we talked about it, it's so severe that we're gonna have to shut buildings down, we're gonna have to do some really severe cuts. Can we list that on here, or just make it too overwhelming?
I'm looking at this thing that John has, and you have headers that go along with these identified items.
This is potential, this is like something we can discuss. I think we need to discuss it. These are ideas that come up, people looking into the budget. Carly and the company.
Did it include
Like
the
a bid.
superintendent?
And over the budget.
Superintendent has his here, I brought his as well.
Okay, my question
And they
was,
mirrored it.
my question was the superintendent part of making this
Assessment.
It's a yes or no question?
No.
No, that's not true, because we were at all 4 budget meetings.
I mean, it's come.
We were all together
I
when
would
we
say
did
everybody's
this.
been a part
I'm
of
curious
it.
because it doesn't have a date, it doesn't say anything, there's no attribution.
Remember that list
It's
that
a
we
piece of paper.
started, Larry? Do you remember that list
And
that
there
we,
is probably,
right here?
and there is probably 10 times the amount of things on here.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering where it came from. That's all. Were the building principals included in consultation with this?
No, you want them to
They
be
were
a
not
part?
either? Okay.
Do you think that maybe, Kim, you went through a lot of this with
Yes, I did.
the
And,
district
I think,
office?
to me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think this is a side issue. This is what we're here to talk about. This is most important. It doesn't matter who's on the list that decided on something on row 5. It's all ideas that have come together, and we just need to say, okay, if we think we've got a levy that can pass at 2.9, if it doesn't, what's our contingency?
So we have reduced professional development days and hours for all paraprofessionals at 94.5. I mean, what do you guys want to? Kindergarten to half days, so Monday, Wednesdays, some kids would go Tuesday, Thursdays. The savings would be losing 1.5 teachers. We could potentially furlough elementary teachers 4 days. Because they have less hours required by the state.
My question would be on that, is that a negotiation item?
That would be, a lot of this is negotiated, I think.
I think managers wouldn't manage the kindergarten going 2 days a week, as long as they get the hours that they're being paid for.
Do we have to provide kindergarten at all?
Technically, no.
Would that save another 110,000?
I wouldn't say that because we would still have to provide it for our special education students.
Okay.
We don't have any secular kindergarten in the community, so we would have to pay. We would have to have.
We can only shut down the elementary libraries because the high school libraries serve a ideal aid purpose, is that right?
Wasn't IDLA out of pocket a little bit more than that?
It was, but there's been some adjustments to it, and so there's just, the principals are looking at it a lot more this year, and so to really implement it next year would be a smaller increase.
And were we paying St. Peter and Paul, or they were paying us what?
500.
500, so we're gonna go 3,000? Because we lost their kids?
Just close EV altogether.
If you close the Elk City School and or the one, CVHS, that would be the money you would effectively save, but you're effectively going to also lose most of those kids, or a lot of those kids. So that money that would come in to pay for them will be removed from the budget as well. So is this the net amount?
So
Or
will your
is this-
revenue. So will your revenue.
That's right.
Yes, and so like Elk City right now is at $70,000, where a year is a little over $190,000. So that's kind of taking the net, or the funding out of it. CVHS, if you guys can remember all the way back to late November, I made a column of what each school building in essence costs us. CVHS was closer to 800,000. If you add those up, it's actually 614,000. That is for the purpose of, I went off of the known facts of what would be the savings. We wouldn't have the building, therefore we wouldn't have the state requirement to spend $106,000 for maintaining the building at that square footage. The utilities are about $109,000 a year, so I didn't eliminate it completely, because obviously we would still need to make sure that lines don't freeze and items like that, so.
And these numbers represent more likely that most students are going to remain in the
Correct.
district, right? So this is more of a worst case scenario. So this is a conservative estimate.
Most of the students will go away.
Yeah, this is a conservative estimate.
And whose choice was it to shut CVHS down?
Right.
Where did we come with that?
Well, it's been talked about, but
I know, but I mean,
you
like-
closed Grangeville High School, we can talk about that as well.
I'm just kind of sitting there going, I hear, let's not shut Grangeville, let's not cut sports, let's not cut teachers, let's not cut this.
Right.
But we're gonna cut an entire
Right.
town and community?
Exactly.
No.
Why?
So you're gonna cut all of it. It's not like one thing.
But it's a business at all.
No,
Hopefully none of it happens.
Our children matter too.
Hopefully,
They definitely matter.
and we're not saying that they don't. We have to make our blueprint smaller. That is the savings.
So close Grangeville then.
But
Like
okay,
you don't
so
just
we
get to
looked at
choose
that. We did
which
look-
one are better.
We did look at that. And so here's the deal. This, if you've noticed, there's two stories. If you've noticed, there's two stories on.
30 different high
Make sure you
school.
pass your levy down there, acoustic,
Okay, hold
All
on.
right.
You guys-
I'm totally somebody that passes it.
You
I
guys
am.
listen.
Because my kid matters, just like yours
Guys,
does.
enough, you're not getting anywhere.
We actually, until it's over, let's stick to business. okay?
Well,
Well, it is.
But
You
let's
can answer
discuss-
Lacey's
Let's
question.
discuss closing Grangeville
Yes.
High School down. Have you run those numbers yet?
I think we're in the upwards of a little bit more. However, I have heard we have less students, so therefore we're displacing less. I mean, like even Oak City, I mean, how many kids you got, John, up there?
You know,
13.
yeah, 13 kids, it's not that many. Again, I think all 13 would wind up being homeschooled there.
But, I mean, like, we're in the business of children.
I'm just thinking seats. Let's think about the amount of kids that Grangeville High School has, which is 215, 260. And we move them down to Kuski that has 130.
No, that's.
I don't think that building logistically could handle 300 and plus students, is that correct?
I'm pretty sure that building handles 300
Yeah.
plus students.
Yeah.
It's 20 years ago.
So, I mean, are we okay with displacing twice as many students?
Kids can't find it coming in. It's literally 30 different.
Well,
30 different.
I know.
You can look right online.
It's those facts they don't know this stuff already.
I'm not just thinking of the students, I'm thinking of businesses in the entire town. I'm also a fourth generation, by the way.
Hopefully we won't have to.
So,
People need to know this. I mean, this is severe. This is very severe.
Yes, that's.
If the levy does not pass, then we're looking at, taking an action.
I can't name one that I really like up here. Not one cut that I really like.
I think it goes back to cutting what we have already done.
234, just in the last school year.
134.
At the high school, no, 234. 234 at the high school. So they all go to the high school, same up here.
No, they don't. No.
K to 8.
This is.
I'll go back to what I said before, it's up to us to make sure it passes.
Can we put something like this on a ballot? I mean, that's a lot of, that's a long list.
Not the ballot, but we can certainly.
No.
I think instead of saying maintenance cuts, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just, you would say maintenance.
Right.
You would say academics. I don't remember what the top one was.
Stuff.
But you would say staff.
Yeah, I don't think you can put it on the ballot, we can certainly put, in other information that's out there.
So are we okay with the original?
224 in Grangeville, 932.
Right.
Isn't that on the ballot?
20 off. They literally right online.
Really gonna take away
No.
7%?
At elementary.
We have K through 6 and yeah, that's 7th, 8th. 7th and 8th got moved over. Right, but that's only 2 grades, guys. That's like 40 kids.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's 5 small. For what they're recording.
No, I put in high school. Just high school.
You just look up just the high school people. That's what they're recording. Unless they're lying about that.
No, I agree, it sucks, I'd love to not portion this like a lot earlier. I don't have.
There's a lot more.
Keep coming up. We're running there.
Yeah, do I think the elementary school is less kids? Yeah, definitely. You can't.
It's the piano, it's
No, it's not. They both.
There's 3 of them throughout the district.
I was just
So each of them get just $4,000 a year.
Are we done discussing for now, or?
Well, we're only at 2.5, right?
College and career is our, U of I and the ones that come and take the kids on field trips, or?
Use your SRS to get to the 2.9. And after
We could do
lighter
this.
reserve to get to 2.9.
It gives us the most flexibility for SRS.
And hopeful that the legislators
And hope it comes in.
will give us some.
Is this built on what?
Start bouncing checks. Yeah. Employees. Definitely takes over.
We probably immediately start selling our properties. District office, the extra land development.
Okay, so the 20 acres behind the school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, I mean, we immediately put it up for sale, wouldn't we? Well, we can decide that. I think we probably have to do that.
Well, it's on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it on there? I thought I saw it. Huh?
Yeah, I didn't know it.
That's 10,008. That's great. And I'm not gonna
It may be us combining.
Yeah.
So some districts. After moving on to technology. You want to put that in there or no? Oh, because that would buy it down 150. Because currently there's no number in there. I said 150. So maybe just 100 on the district office?
Right.
Maybe just split the difference 150, 150, just to be safe. Okay, so that's actually baseball. And then we have this weird little sliver, down on Boulder Road. I don't even, that's the weird one. It's in the middle of Heckman's property. It's landlocked. Don't, maybe Heckman's would buy it, yeah. I'm pretty sure they probably used it. I mean, I don't know if I did that wrong, but the parcel map put that right in the middle of Heckman's. Inside. We can check of the treasurer and see if that's for the assessor. Yeah, they have not had increases. What is the admin at right now? I looked at it, huh?
They are, they're in this non-certified staff list. They're part of the non-certified.
Where is that at?
Sorry, admin, where are admins? Yeah.
Right there.
Hey, admin, which one are they? Principal?
Yeah, I just have the principal one for CBHS. Oh, sorry. Wait, those are certified.
RIF board teacher.
Well, no, because they're certified. They're included in the certified because they're certified.
They're part of one.
Yeah. Is that right? I don't have a separate line item.
Yeah.
So that's,
Did you hear that? They're as part of the certified.
oh, that would be, they would, okay.
They're certified staff.
Okay.
Because they're certified as admin, so they're included in the certified line item.
I mean, that's 200. Yeah, because they're shutting down the whole CV, they're cutting them out of there. Oh,
Did
they
you see
are.
mine?
Wait, so she's that right here.
Yeah.
This says teacher, but this way
Only 2 hours. Yeah, they're trying to figure it out where that was. Top part.
Do you have their type in that
This is all. We're not going to choose tonight anyhow, but at least they're letting everybody know. Yeah,
Carly, would there be a savings if the admin only went up 3% for the budget, 24, 25? What did you account for? Okay. No, it says that you would get it at 3%. It would just, the cells would not change. And that's a negotiated item. So you would move a step?
I think they took out.
Hey, can you, teacher step, no cell mount increase, so that implies no 3% raise if there's no cell amount increase.
Right.
We just
it would
move
be the
over.
step instead.
Yeah, we would just move down the ladder. But no raise, so that's kind
Well,
of,
when you do an increase in the steps, you do get $1,000 or $1,500.
yeah, I'm saying the 3% cost of living that's been thrown around where, 3% administrator, that's.
The cell does it equates really close to 3%. It wouldn't just be the cell increase plus a cell step, which would be closer to more.
So that's what you, I'm just looking at it like that. I see both ways and I appreciate that. The no cell amount increase, that's assuming, that's assuming that the negotiation team in the district actually agreed on that. Whereas we've froze in the past. So that's so it seems to be a little bit,
I think the freezing would not be beneficial because then people coming in
no, I'm not
be placed higher.
It just, as represented, it's kind of misleading as represented, but I see what you're saying.
So, teacher step, you would get a step with no cell amount increase. So I guess that comma's really weird.
Yeah, that comment's weird. To me, you're telling me,
See how
yeah,
much
I
more
went
matters?
from an 8-year teacher to a 9-year teacher, but I'm still making the wage of an 8-year teacher, is the way
You would be
I,
making the wage of whatever cell that you were moving into,
if agreed upon.
if agreed upon.
And
All
that-
of this is.
Yeah, all of it agreed upon, and I
And
don't
this
think
could all
that-
be
I don't
null.
think, so what I'm saying is negotiation teams for either side, that could be a sticking point even after this community comes together. So I hope we're all on the same page and seeing it for what it is.
Right.
I'm trying to get rid of it, but it looks like bigger comma now.
Teacher step with budgeted 3%. I mean, the budget, it throws it in there, that's it, now, okay, now that's a budget item. Do you follow? It ain't guaranteed is what I'm saying.
What about just teacher step?
Same. I argue the same point. I'm on a step, but you're not guaranteeing me anything.
Okay, guys. I'll work on my verbiage. I'll work on my verbiage.
It is words, but words matter when lives are at stake.
Right, and if we couldn't cut that from negotiations, we might have to cut something else, or the salary apportionment might be more. And so we won't have to cut that. These are just things that, when doomsday comes, if doomsday, I love that, if doomsday comes, I'm just kidding, yeah. Okay, what about the custodians 32 hours a week? Is there a reason that's not?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you cut 4 custodial positions, I don't know how you also go to 32 hours a week.
Yeah, valid. Okay,
And
so that
so-
can just be crossed off. Could we combine a superintendent and principal? Yes. Could we make, like, the smallest school's principal also the superintendent? And what would that? Okay. I don't know.
I mean, we could put a number out there and then obviously I'd be kind of tied to it.
What sort of number in savings would that be?
That's low,
And it's like half the size.
Probably. I mean, it's, principal makes 80s, superintendent makes 100. So if we went to, we would save one, let's just say we save the principal position, right? We pay them the superintendent wage. No, it would be another one.
I'm not saying it's not, I'm saying that they would then have the school is like, it's not really that. Yes, I'd like to look at it, but I think we can't figure out, and that's what I'm saying. I just don't know who your pool is for a superintendent, like, there's a lot of parts about that.
Okay, then let's just say, what about the behavior coordinator at GEMS?
Well, that's a rip.
That's a good four. It says for teach.
That's a position.
Okay. Well, I think if this happens, then we need to look at combining principal and superintendent.
You might be able to come
Okay, let's just say combining 2 admin.
That's this thing.
Okay.
So I have a question. Since all of your principal contracts would have to be renewed, or approved to be renewed.
No, can't talk about that right now.
No, what I'm saying is what you're just talking about.
Could be that.
They're all coming up
Right.
this March 21st. Therefore, to save on the budget, because you're trying to still save money, can those positions be, because right now, you're
Postpone
paying,
till after.
right now you're paying the same fee.
Postpone till after the
You gotta
levy.
shut it down.
Yeah, we can hire till
B,
after the levy.
we got,
Sorry. Okay, where are we at?
sorry. I know. I just, yeah.
So that difference could be about 267,000. So, do we want to do the SRS for that?
The SRS might continue.
Technically, we're on year 3 of year 3 contract with that. They haven't stopped coming in, but I can't, you know.
Yeah, but again, it's been there for the last decade.
Things keep changing though.
Well, good, no question, but again, a lot of things can change. Now and even next month. It's the history of being. I didn't repeat this before, so about as dead as we can get it at this point. I make a motion to
We're okay with this?
No, I'd like to solidify this just so we have that. I mean, because all we need is now 267 to SRS and we've done.
267?
And that is getting to the 2936.
And maybe there's, you know, this is all moving parts, so this is just a summary, but we've got headers, and we've got bottom lines of each header.
Can I clarify, is that the list you want for the ballot, or do you want the other list from the court? And this is just known as the cut list, and the other list is the ballot list that the levy.
The problem with that is I felt like patrons thought we were misleading them. I mean, I don't want to put all this on there, but I'm just thinking we could summarize it
I
into a
definitely
list like this.
feel like, and this could be totally me, but I feel like it's different because we've had all these meetings, and I would like to hope that the patrons would understand that now the list on the ballot is for what the levy funds, and that the cut list is different, but again, that's obviously, I respect all of your guys' opinions, and obviously do what's on the ballot, which is best.
I would agree with her because that's what I learned when I talked to people in the state. So the ballot is what we want to pay in our budgets. The cut list is the stuff that we can't meet in. It's a good thing.
I just don't know if, I just think we might need to change a couple things, like the special education contract. I don't know. It's up to the board, obviously. I'm just one of 5, but I want to be fully transparent with people as much as possible.
Absolutely. One of the hindrances we have when we negotiate. We can't honestly do it.
Some of them, but some of them we'd have to do,
Right,
like,
I mean,
yeah.
so, we need some transparency, you should leave those off. And that sort of thing, so.
Again, we're making rough estimates as best well, that's what.
I just feel like there may be a camp that will use it against us.
I think that's a given no.
Again, I think we've got enough people here that sees the wrestling we're going through and trying to get this thing done. That they're gonna go out there and tell their neighbors and friends and everybody else, that, you know what? They tried.
Well, the other side of it is we've heard this evening, that people have good ideas, things we don't think about. And I'm kind of in favor of a working group to put a short timeline on it and let's sit down and hash it out. And it's because we do, it's the only thing we have in our favor right now is a little bit of time. Okay. When, Carly, do you happen to know when the clerk requires us to have the list to them? Is it the same day?
The March 22nd
Okay.
at 5.
So, you know, I'd like to see, I can't call it anything but a working group. I think that's the wisest thing to do, you know, and move it around, have it up here and have it down on CV, and for that matter, have one up in Elmwood. I mean, what do we got to lose by talking to each other? Nobody's gonna like the total outcome. They're not.
So, and we all voted yes for this.
Yeah.
So we can all, as
Yeah.
one voice, say this is what we need.
Because right now, if we leave here without a decision from us on all this stuff, what good is that? You know what I'm saying? This is not the appropriate time and place to do this. That's my opinion.
I think this is the only
This
time
is
to
the
do
only,
this.
this is the only.
I think that's the mission back.
Potentially be to maybe compromise, could we
These numbers are
add
not good.
more to the?
It's never fixed, it's a budget.
I know, but again, until, when we get to that point, we have to cut it out, then the numbers will be fixed. Right now, we're throwing mud against the wall.
It's not really mud,
So
it's more like,
be to potentially compromise, like could, because there's again, some of those ones that it's just like, we can't do that. Like, could we grab this $94,500, this $110,000, like anything that has to do with staff and potentially add it to substitute and support staff and add, or maybe just get rid of staff, just put staffing, and then that way we could get rid of the special education line? Like,
yeah, I
is
think that would be, that's what I'm working on right now, like student impacts could be 358.
Okay.
Academics could be 115, maintenance could be 215 instead of, we did buy it down, but we still are making cuts to it. So it would be 215 instead of 290. I don't know if we want to say some sort of buildings or something for the last two.
I personally like the fact of keeping it obviously cleaner in this sense, obviously adjusting the verbiage. Like you said, nobody wants to put this whole thing on a budget.
No.
Or ballot. So, yeah, if we could section it out, again, staff impact, that line item.
I think that's a great idea. Do you agree?
Yeah.
290.
Where will we put the 236, from SRS? Not really a levy.
Well, I think it's because they've come down there and they told us otherwise. They've said that Granger doesn't have the option to say you get to just close down. When they get to vote each other out, doesn't matter if they're closed or not. So
Yeah,
they've come down there
because
and
we
told
would
us
have to prove it with our
that
expenses,
it's not even
which I
an
mean,
option
again,
to
we
close.
could
So then
prove it, but.
Oh, you could call that.
Yeah, standard operating expenses.
We could cut that, so we're gonna not have our back budget. Operation reserve, reduction in operation.
Picking one or the other. Let's keep them both.
I think we do need to have a line item though with like buildings, with those last two, just so people understand that the impact of, so 70 and then whatever the other addition is.
Should be about 614 on.
So 684.
Yeah.
Because it's buying buildings.
It is, I'm just trying to see.
It's like the levy would buy the buildings. Does that make sense?
Retain property?
Right.
That's what the property retention?
Okay. I am not a semantics person.
I will run all of this by Holly Truxell. Again, I just like to make sure that we're on the up and up.
It means
Hey, Carly, can you take off fundraise by July
to
1st?
a common layman, that's just gonna mean.
Because I checked with the state, we
Right.
don't have.
Or like the land.
So according to the state department, you don't have. to.
People don't go to it.
Fundraise of all of the.
Right.
By July
Don't
1st.
look out, like, don't.
Even per Title IX, they said, I said, is it Title IX? And there was a lawyer and they said,
No,
yeah.
but
Could we violate it if it's not all
No.
fundraised?
could we go down just that road for a second? Like fall sports, again, like I am with Larry in this essence of just be prepared and fundraise ahead of time or fundraise whenever you can, but technically, if a coach goes, well, I'm a fall coach and so I only have this long, but a spring coach has that long, I'm not thinking Title IX, I'm just, I guess, thinking,
Fairness.
and having some kind of deadline, like, because what if, what would you say needed to be fundraised in time for fall sports to,
So that's
Operate.
the discretion of the coach, what they're gonna need.
So by doing this, in my mind, I had the district would expend would expend nothing towards extracurriculars. It would be
And
up to the
co-curriculars.
community and their individual people. I know,
I'm
it's weird.
not, like, I'm not against it, I just want to make sure we're thinking about every, item. Like, another, thought was hypothetically, the coaches go, okay, I know this is this, my goal, or my budget is $15,000. So, just for giggles, let's say, fall coaches, 2 girl coaches raised, or a team, girl sport teams raised their money, but only one boy sport did. Which girl sport are you gonna choose? Because it can't be both.
So would it even be the district's responsibility, or would they all go to club?
Well, if they fundraised, then again, we're technically saying they could, but you could only have one boy sport and one girl sport. You can't have 2 girl sports and 1 boy sport.
I guess if
That-
they're not representing GHS and they're just a club team. I don't know. Here's the deal, if we don't pass the levy, we cannot fund extracurriculars.
Correct, I'm just trying to, I'm just saying, that's why I like the July 1st, because by then you know if fall sports can do it, you know if winter sports can do it, you know if spring sports can do it, and you know what teams can do it, because I guess again, it makes me a little nervous, but this is someone that's new, so anyone else who's in this
I think like in all actuality, I mean, these teams raise money like all year long, so I don't see.
You've already
it.
raised.
I mean, they know that their sport is coming, they
Hold
do
on,
raise.
wait.
No, because
I just
what
want to
we're
make sure
paying for
that.
there is not their wages, it's not $350,000 it's not for that. What we're raising money for is their buses.
Did you give them
No,
till after 40
350
days?
is coaches' wages.
So the parent, you want the parents to pay for the coaching wages?
If the
Yeah, or the coaches don't get a stipend.
I know lots of them who will volunteer, but we can't ask them to do that.
This is just.
So again, I'm following you guys, I just wanna make sure we think of every, possibility with that, the extracurricular and co-curricular line item. Is that, again, a coach could come up and be like, my team's budget is this, I fundraise, I get it, but again, if it's a girls' sport team and the boys' sport team didn't fundraise enough, they don't get to, the girls' sport doesn't get to do it because we're not representing a boys' sport that season for Title IX.
So it's near, it's about staff, it's about show, so like football might have 70 participants and then volleyball has 30, so actually that sport counts as more people, but I'm just not
For the sport, number of students out.
It's the only reason I like the deadline, but again, I'm not an athletic director, I'm not specialized in Title IX, it's just my thoughts.
Title IX person, Kim, do you have any input?
So, question, just because I am who I am. So when you go to a sporting event and you pay a gate fee, how much gate fee do we make a year?
That goes back to the school building, and they offset officials with it. And so it actually doesn't come to the general fund portion of the district funds. But
Well, we
I
pay
would
sports
have to
fee
look.
too, right?
Yes, sport fees comes to the district office.
Sports fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
That goes to the district.
Yes,
So
the
paid
sports
for.
fee comes to the district to help offset
So like 35
wages. I don't have off the top of my head.
No, it's
how
not.
much
I
they
think
come in.
it's 35.
Oh, for sports fees, yes, I don't know for gate fees.
I mean, we can cross that bridge later, but maybe we'd have like 3 deadlines or 2 deadlines. We'd have like an August 1st deadline for the fall sports. We'd have a November 1st for the winter sports, and we'd have a February 1st for the spring sports.
That'd be fine.
I don't know, I'm just thinking like, then we would be able to assess if all 3 programs could continue.
You're not sanctioned by the
And could we, then you put on the ballot what, the levy is supporting, so that way, you know, when we have to cut CV and Park City, the ballot, the people on the ballot can say, you know, if I don't vote yes.
Reverse engineered instructional opportunities at CVHS in Elk City. It's a reverse engineered. Your patrons would see that that's what your levy pays for, because it's made your short list here as a cut, so. As a reverse engineered, could you put that on your ballot?
Again,
What does that
I would
mean?
have to play with the verbiage and touch base with Hoxel and Trolley and just be like, can we just say Elk City? Could we just say CVHS? Or if it again would be this property retention dash Elk City, property retention dash CVHS.
That doesn't speak to students though. Property retention is that little pie in the.
Valid.
Trapped by Heckman, property retention. I'm saying instructional opportunities, that's telling us that somebody's gonna be taught.
Closing schools would be
School
real
closure.
Closing.
Yeah.
But if you don't wanna use it as closing schools as fear tactic or as a cut list like conversation has been had, That literally is an instructional opportunity.
If you list that, you need to list the whole list, because that is using.
Sorry, guys. I know
Anyhow.
we've had these open meetings before, but, I mean, workshops, but we'll have to wait till we're out of session. Do we want to get out in the meeting so we can approach them? Meeting adjourned?
Just a recess
Okay. You guys okay with adjourning? I'm on the way adjourned. Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Do you wanna get a picture maybe of us all so we can agree that we're all unity? Yes.
I know you guys were like, I'm gonna go. I saw the gavel come up. I knew I was Maybe I didn't read that section.
Well,